Hello. People hear us. Yeah. All right. Can people hear us? I don't know. It sounds kind of weird to me. No? Okay. Here, you talk and I'll go adjust it.
We are our own tech people today. We are a real two-woman show tonight. Beyond all the wonderful writers and readers, Emily and I are also doing our own tech, although I do need to, at the top, give a shout out to John Avad for helping us with our live stream, because it literally would not be happening tonight without him. So, John, I don't know where you are because lights are, there he is. Hey, give it up for literally someone who volunteered to help us with the live stream. Oh yeah, thank you. Oh my God. How are we doing? Are we feeling better? Yeah, I see some thumbs up, Emily. I think you can come back to the stage if you want. What was that? This is lovely, actually. Ooh, I'm feeling like I could, hang out up here. I was feeling very hot earlier. I'm still feeling very hot. Thank you all for coming out. I know it's a heat wave. We're gonna keep it cool here at Storytime. Here are a couple things that we say up at the top. Do you want to start with a couple things? I want to start with a couple things. All right, here are the couple things that we say. First of all, is anyone here absolutely brand new to Storytime? You never heard before. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, very cool. All right, things you should know about Storytime. The people who come up on stage. Actually, for this story time, a lot of them are first-time readers, so we're gonna be like, hell yeah, it's gonna be awesome for y'all. I'm actually more excited for first-time readers than I am generally, because I just, in my mind, I hear those people's voices in my head when I'm reading stories, and now you get to be inside my head. This is great. But it more to the point, they are reading other people's stories. So we have stories that are sent in and then they are reading them. And so what we really need is a loving attention from the audience. If you speak, we can hear you. It's not a screen situation. We can hear everything. There is a lovely backyard that's steaming outside if you want to go take a phone call or something like that. But just make sure, like, if you have something to say, just wait till the end. We'll all hang out afterwards, and we will hang out at Horny Talk at Big Top if you want to go hang out there. There's one of the announcements.
Good job. So Blair mentioned there's going to be readers, and they're reading other people's stories. If you are here and you have a story you want to submit, our email is grownupstorytimehouston@gmail, and it's on the program on the back. So send us a story, even if you don't think it's ready. We really like reading them, and we like working on them with you. And it's not bullshit, we really do. So send us a story, and or if you're just like, I don't know if it's right, or I think it could be, or I don't know, just send it in. Bottom line, just send in the story, and we'll take a look at it. We do have what? Okay, I'll turn it down. I'll turn it down before the show starts. Thank you. Literally running around tech tonight.
Literally.
And not doing a great job.
What?
Also, along the same lines of these are people reading someone else's stories. We do have another event in Houston called The Moth, which is people reading their own stories. So if that's your thing and you're here tonight and you say, ooh, this is cool, but I want to read my own story, that is an option. It's usually on the second Tuesday of the month. This week it's actually on the third Tuesday.
Whatever.
But yeah, so that's a thing. You're
here. It's fine.
You can go next.
I have things to say. Workshops. We've had them. We will have them again. We actually, I want to shout out our first reader, Holly, already from the top. She came to our readers workshop, the first one we had in like 3 years. She came to it. She is reading, and she's great. We will have another readers workshop. We will have another writers workshop. The best way to find out about those workshops is if you follow us on Instagram, or if you send us an email at grownupstorytimehouston@gmail. It's in the program. Send us an email, say, hey, I want to know about workshops. I will send you a pesky email probably about 3 weeks before it actually is happening. We're having them all over Houston. We're partnering with Houston Public Library. Just watch the social media, watch your email, or literally just come and let me know personally that you want to come to our workshop. We have readers workshops, we have writers workshops. They're imminent in planning.
I think we're about ready to start the show. I just want to let everyone know that we do have some merchandise for sale. We have a t-shirt, we have a tote, we have some pins and stickers. The pins are all free, so just come grab one if you want one. And the shirts are very not safe for work, and the totes are very not safe for work, but the designs are based on actual stories, which is really cool, and we like telling the story of that if you want to come and check them out. But other than that, also, if you don't have a program, they're up here on the thing. I'll walk around and hand a few out when we get started, but if you don't have one and want one, come get one on the thing. Should we just start?
I mean, I was going to introduce our host. Yeah. All right, y'all. It's June. It's hot. So we got the hottest host we could find. Hell yeah. Look. Also, you really need to give it up for her new hair, because I was speechless when I saw it. So this is also someone who we've loved dearly. She's read for us. You know what? Emily's gonna go turn the music out. I'm gonna vamp a little bit so that Devin doesn't have to worry. Sorry, our host that I wasn't gonna name until she came up here. I'm gonna vamp, real fun. Also, we do have a live stream, which is what John is helping us out with. If you have friends and family that are abroad that would like to participate in Grown Up Storytime, please tell them about the live stream, because it is hell. They get to help us. I feel like the music is down. Cool. All right. Here is your host. She's lovely. She's amazing. Her name is Devin. When you are listening to the stories, that's great. But also listen to her in between the stories. Oh no, I still hear the music too. Oh no. Oh no. And should I come? You want me to come over? Okay. We're gonna start the show. The music is gone because I said that. That's how that works. Yes. Y'all. This is some story time magic happening tonight. Cool. Let's bring Devin up to the stage. She's amazing. She's your host. Give her all the fucking love.
Settle down. I'll wait. Hey, are we all ready? Are we going to behave? I think you all know you have a reputation to uphold. Miss Will's class is always known as one of the best behaved classes in the school. So I really would appreciate it. I'm going to reiterate what the superintendent said just moments ago. If you're talking, you're not what? Listening. That's right. So if you need to have a conversation, please feel free to take it outside. That little hallway there doesn't count. It has great acoustics, which is wonderful during choir, but it's not great when you're having a conversation while someone is reading. We have some special guests with us here today to share their stories, and I hope that you will take from them and learn from them just the same way that I hope to. This first story, I'm sure you'll enjoy this, is called Turd by Turd. It was written by Claire McLanis, and it will be read by Holly Carmen.
Turd by Turd. Prologue. A friend recently informed me that in Anne Lamont's Writer's Guidebook, an instructional titled Bird by Bird, which was published in 1996, she encourages writers to not be afraid of shitty first drafts. This is now the third rough draft of this story. I assure you, dear listener, that this information is relevant to the rest of this story. Part 1. In the 1990s, my mom and I rented a one-story house in Marion County. It was a very old house built in 1912, and although it was romantically beautiful, it had not been updated in quite some time. If you were to have it, say, in the middle of the night, it might have appeared vacant or only inhabited by spirits. Many times during the early part of this era, it turned a dog of our own, my mother was befuddled by this. Who or what was leaving these horrid gifts for us regularly? Who had we offended, or were we just cursed? Each morning, my mom would diligently clean up these hefty turds, then run to the steep hill across the road to toss them, gagging all the while. During this time, my mom also had a live-in boyfriend. I'll call him Santiago because that's the furthest from his real name that I could think of at the moment. Santiago is a very talented rock guitarist, and he was also a very imbalanced person. People say that genius and mental illness can go together like that. He was also hilarious, in the intentional sort of way, and spoke at lightning speed in a thick New York accent. If you can, imagine a young Robin Williams playing the character of a rough, street-savvy, struggling NYC guitarist. That was Santiago. Despite Santiago's many flaws, which I will ignore here for the sake of preserving this story, he also happened to be an incredibly gifted storyteller. Often my mom worked nights, and when she did, Santiago would occasionally babysit me. On these nights, it was mandatory that he tell me a little tale before I fell asleep, all snuggled and tucked into bed. I don't mean that he would read me a children's book or play me a book on tape like my mom would. No, I mean his electric brain would concoct a ridiculously silly story on the spot. One that only I was privileged to hear, an audience of one. One rule of his story time was that he didn't do voices, and that was another thing that differed from my mom's story hour. His own voice was funny enough as it was anyways. It was more like a conversation. I'd ask him questions about a character he had just invented 2 seconds ago, and he'd come up with a silly description of them or an explanation about them without missing a beat. His characters were always mundane things turned into gangsters like Timmy the Teabag Timmy and Billy the Kit Kat bar. So often I'd be laughing hysterically about a scenario he invented that I'd lie stark awake for a while after he said goodnight. My mom was always happy I liked story time with Santiago, although it did also seem that it was a bit of a competition between them. Being 8 or 9 years old, I would get tucked into bed at 9 p.m. on a late night, and my mom would turn herself in around 11 p.m. Santiago would often stay up until 2 or 3 a.m., playing his guitar on the living room couch while the TV talked to itself in the background. One late night, Santiago was strumming away, or perhaps more like picking away, when he caught sight of something in our front yard. A creature, crouched in the middle of our dry, dead, weedy lawn. Santiago quickly rose and crept to the front window to get better view. Around 3 a.m., he gently shook my mom awake. Yo, Baggy, wake up. Baggy, a nickname he called my mom because she drank so much English breakfast tea and would leave the bags lying around on little saucers. The nickname started as Tea Baggy, and now as an adult, I understand why my mom quickly requested a name revision. Yo, Baggy, wake up, Santiago whispered yelled. My mom gasped awake. What? For fuck's sake, what is it? She whispered yelled back as she rubbed her eyes. My mom and Santiago both constantly cursed like sailors. Like that was also a competition between them. Baggy, there's a beast taking a huge dump out in your front lawn, Santiago wheezed in reply. He peeked out the side bedroom window, barely moving the curtain like a real detective. There's 2 of them now, and a witch. Come, look out the window, he demanded. That's who's taking fucking dumps in the yard. He pointed satisfactorily. I cracked the fucking case, he announced, as he sauntered out my mom's bedroom door. And fuck, was this not the tale that was told and retold many a time in our house, from various character perspectives with multiple backgrounds and rich histories, and usually as a mystery series. all told by a man who never wrote down a single story. Santiago had indeed cracked the fucking case, for it was later discovered that the perpetrator was none other than the modern American literary treasure, Anne Lamont. She walked at the witching hour as though in a trance, with her twin black standard poodles. Later, I imagined Anne was composing in her mind as she tromped aimlessly through the neighborhood and others' yards as she pleased. She wore her blonde hair in dreadlocks, and her twin poodles wore the same hairstyle, dreaded from head to tail. My mom wasn't a fan of hers in daily life because of her atrocious dog ownership etiquette. In secret, however, my mom read her books, and when I asked my mom if they were any good, she always answered matter-of-factly, yes, very. My mother and the rest of Anne's neighbors reluctantly became her personal poodle hoopmates, so that Anne could be allowed the freedom to wander and ponder and daydream and otherwise be self-absorbed without a single distracting thought about poop bags or scoopers or whose lawn her unleashed beasts had wandered into. This resulted in the production of several works of literature. I am claiming that my mother's free labor directly contributed to the words written by Anne first being thought of, then written down, then later published for the world to read. If you like any of Anne's work written in the 1990s, you have my mother's unsolicited labor and gagging fits to thank for that. We all did our neighborly duty for fine literature, turd by turd. Epilogue. And that, dear listeners, is the complete tale of how literary starlet Anne Lamont became known to me as, an audience of one, solely as the dreaded poodle poop lady of legend and lore.
All right, class, what did we learn from that story? You're so close, all very, very good guesses. What we learned is that we treat everybody equally, and that means understanding that you're not too good to scoop poop from your neighbor's yards. This next story is called An Underwear Affair. Sorry. It's written by Rajata Kosachewa and read by Brian Adam Wells.
Another time. I'm a large person. An underwear affair. I first found out about Hideaway from my friend Elena, where the Texas whiskey distillery Garrison Brothers brings 16 bartenders from all over the country to go to their distillery, learn about the juice and the history, work on their bottling line. I'm blessed, and I've gone twice, and met some really amazing people there. The second time I went, I noticed that I have this weird personality where people gravitate towards me. And I meet this couple from New Orleans, Johnny and Christine. First thing I said to Christine was that her hands looked really sore. And I asked if I could massage them because I went to massage school. Of course, this means that we're now best friends immediately. And she informs me that Johnny is her fiance. And she asks if I can give him a massage as well. He's beautiful, and I'm happy to. Throughout the entire Hideaway, we all grow very close as friends, and they decide that I must attend their wedding. I have no say in the matter. I must come to the wedding. When I asked where the nuptials were to be had, they said Buffalo. New York? Absolutely, I can do this. Yes, this is the type of new friend that I am, and it's a year away. So flash forward 1 year later, I've just got done working the double at Uzo Bay, RIP. I was there from 9 a.m. until 2 a.m. I go home, I'm a last-minute packer. I just start throwing everything into one suitcase until it's 4 a.m. My plane leaves at 7, which means I can take a short nap before I go to the airport. I'm about to pass out, and then I realize I totally forgot to pack any underwear. Let me be very clear about something. I only wear jock straps. That's all I wear. It's very important in the story. Because I was so tired and desperately needed to get to sleep, I texted my boyfriend Gage, just make room in the laptop bag and put all the drop stuff you can find in there, and I repacked when I got to my destination. 2 hours later, I'm still very sleep deprived, and I'm at the Bush airport. Fortunately, the line is going really fast. I get up to the TSA, and out of every person there, I'm the one chosen to get randomly pulled for a bag check. I should mention that I did not really get dressed for travel. I'm in a bare onesie with ears, looking like such a weirdo. But it's fun. They assure me it's a random routine check, and they just need to look in my laptop bag and see what's in it. He starts taking everything out. My laptop, my cords, and then he's having a problem trying to get something out. Confused as to why he's trying to yank something from my bag. What's wrong with him? Why is he having so many difficulties? What's with all the yanking? Finally, he pulls hard enough that something is slingshotted out of the bag. It's my jock straps. Not one or two. All 5 of them fling into the air. Red, white, blue, green. I'm mortified. I immediately ask, "Are you done getting out of my face?" The guy's just looking at me, also mortified. I start collecting my stuff. I said, "I don't care what you're about to say to me. This is my stuff. I'm gonna go." I just can't believe all this is happening this early on my way to see my new friends. As soon as I get to my first flight, I wait for the longest, or what feels like the longest time because of the lack of sleep I've had. I get to my flight. I finally get to ATL. Looking for my next terminal for the gate for Buffalo, New York. I eye those screens where everything should be. I proceed to scan through it, and finally, I find my next destination. But as soon as I do, I hear a from a woman who can somehow make sound with a southern accent. I excuse myself out of the way to allow this woman to look at the screen, but she then talks to me. "Well, you look awfully familiar. Have I seen you someplace?" "No, ma'am, I'm not from here. I'm just traveling through." No, weren't you that guy at IH this morning at TSA? My heart drops. Did this woman see? Was she aware of what happened to me? Why do I feel like Carrie from Sex and the City? I don't think that was me. It is you! Yeah, you were wearing that jacket with the bear ears. I'm so sorry we did that to you. But is there any way I can buy you a drink? No, ma'am, I appreciate that as I turn beet red from embarrassment. But my flight leaves in 20 minutes and I should get going. Ding! The flight from ATL to Buffalo, New York has been delayed 2 hours. We apologize for your inconvenience. Just kidding. Guess I'll go with you. I'd like to see to drink whiskey with this woman for 2 hours who I just met and get on my flight. And as I'm sitting on the flight, recapping my entire morning in disbelief, I hear another familiar sound. Once again. But this time, the other woman knew it was me. Ooh, child. You were at IH this morning, right? In utter disbelief that someone else in this entire world would also recognize me again. Yes, ma'am, that was me. Child, I felt so bad that they flung your thought layer into the sky like that. No, me, I would have died. I would have been so embarrassed I just gone home. Yeah, me too, man. I can't help it. I'm just on the way to my friend's wedding in Buffalo, so here we are. Did she say thought layer? Oh my God, she did. You know what, Sean? Let me buy you a drink as soon as we land. Ubers and Lyfts aren't the greatest while you're still inside. I agree to another drink because who says no to free drinks like mine? It's only been 5 hours since this all took place anyways, right? We drank because of my Asian flush. My hostess is waiting at the door to let me in. Start the beginning of my vacation of the trip at the house of the woman who called my underwear affair thoughtware.
feel that there might be a lesson to be learned from each story this evening. So many from that one. Keep your jock straps and your checked luggage. Maybe just don't book a flight right after you work until 2 a.m. Or do. I don't know. Maybe you travel differently than I do. I can't say. What I will say, it's never just a routine checkup that you've randomly been chosen for. That's the only lesson that I can leave you with today, class. In the meantime, this is an open classroom, not one that tries to put up boundaries, and that's why during Pride Month, this next story is called The Gay Love That Got Away. It was written by Sarah Mental and read by my friend, Evan Carlin.
I was a newly budded 21-year-old out on the town with my family. We went to Hamburger's Mary's, which is a gay bar and performance venue. My mother lied to my brother and said we were in the Swedish district. We were in the neighborhood section of Chicago, Illinois. My brother is part Swedish on his father's side, so she took that to draw him into the gay part of Chicago. He was hesitant to deal with any and all things gay, but went with us to celebrate his Swedish heritage. There were men in flamboyant wear, sparkly glitter shirts, and shining with all their rainbow joy worn proudly. He felt like he was in his own version of rainbow hell. I immediately felt at home, at peace, in my element. My family seemed to think that watching the gays was something made to make their day. Like watching something in a cage, I would feel. Even though I was bisexual at the time, I was much more attracted to women than I was to men. This caused a conflict within me because I was also raised predominantly in a private Christian school setting. I also realized women were much more intimidating to talk to. I was aggressive with men, but inherently shy and blundering with women. It was a dilemma I still have never conquered. We watched Baking with Bertha, which was basically an excuse for pies to be filled with cream laced heavy on the sexual innuendos. And I saw her. She was our matrix, beautiful, strong personality, and she had a shaved head. I immediately thought to myself that she was attractive. She was attentive, filling up my martinis, and she kept it coming. Her name was Jane. And I tried not to twist my words together, thanking her each time she came to my table. My family teased me that the gay waitress might be into me. It was a game for them, but for me, it was when I was losing. The night went on, and I planned to get drunk to numb out what they were saying. Once upon a time, my first relationship was with a girl in my 3rd grade class. We were separated from each other once it was found out that we were together, and I was never able to like her the way that I wanted to. I didn't see her again. She moved to a different school, and we only randomly met. I was too young to pursue her, and I didn't have the means to find her. This moment presented itself as a do-over, if only I wasn't with my family. I never met anyone with my family present. I remember this one moment. I stared at Jane. She was serving this band of girls on a bed together watching the show. The light hit her just like right out of a movie. Holy shit, she was stunning. I might have nearly dropped or knocked my martini over with the realization of how gorgeous she was. My stomach was twisted in knots. My face was in a constant blushing state. I was a wreck, and trying to play it cool because my family was torturing me with all the teasing. I downed another martini after that point, and I thought about asking her for her phone number. I thought about even striking a conversation with her. I don't know what it was that drew me to her. It was like an inner light, strength, shining inside of her like a light. Plus, honestly, she was just gorgeous and oozed every feminine beauty I thought I'd just never had. The show came to an end. I kept drinking probably until it passed to the limit I should. You should never pick somebody up when you're past that point. And the teasing from my family didn't stop. I left the attic of Hamburger Mary's and took one last look at her. This woman that was so attractive, attentive, stunning, all the words that I could say, and more. I swear the light framed her like a halo, looked like a sort of mortal angel. I left the doorway and stumbled down with the steep steps without falling over. I patted myself on the back and tried to seem nonplussed at my family teasing me. They thought it was funny our waitress might have been interested in me. They said she was flirting with me, but I was too dense to know or too shy to ask, and too unsure in my sexuality to know how to do this again. I don't believe in regrets, but my family doesn't know this side of me when it comes to women. Or they pretend what they do know never happened. Maybe they'll see this and understand what their daughter is. Or perhaps they just won't care in the end. One will never know.
There are some stories which do not require a bit at the end. My God, if you've experienced anything similar to that, I know I have. Pretty devastating. Please, I don't know, if you have queer kids, please just be kind to them. Please don't give them a hard time. I teach girls how to flirt with girls who are hopeless. This next story is called Front Door, and it's written by Jennifer Calderon and read by Chandler Tomaker.
We've always been one of those families that never uses the front door. The typical trope of Hispanic families where there comes someone knocking and you hide behind the couch and turn off the lights and TV, hoping that your Nuestra Hogar es Católico sign will encourage the intruders to turn tail and run away. I don't know how Spanish kids inherently know this fact, but I do know the look of pure disgust my mom shoots at the door when she hears anyone nearby. It's funny. I do the same thing now as an almost 34-year-old. Give me 2 hours. But I have, because there aren't many people anymore with 2 front doors and a lifted 100-year-old shotgun house where the second someone sneezes on my front porch, I can hear it in the kitchen. Anyway, front doors, never anything exciting about them. I feel like only strangers use them. Confused strangers. White strangers. Haven't had a lot of success surrounding our front door. Always getting in trouble for smoking late at night or even being completely locked out when completely drunk because I wasn't trusted with the key. Of course, I'm sitting on the patio furniture, Mommy. Where else do I have to go? You should be proud I came home. My mother, named after a flower that ironically enough grows in a lot of front yards, she never really understood the power of insanely curly hair. It can stop people dead in their tracks. Shocked at how beautiful or insane it can look in one blink of their eye. Always eye-catching, never boring. There has always been a disconnect between my sister and my mother and I. Mostly, I blame my sister. But there are glaring moments where I understand. One day,
Coming in from high school, the garage door had broken. Not surprising. We didn't live in an immaculately kept home, at least from the outside. Friends would say the second they used the bathroom, the trash can was empty because my mother had flitted in to empty it in the ensuing seconds after a piss. Remember, this is the woman that grimaced at the sounds of company. Again, walking in through the front door, the door that is constantly on fire because it is wrought iron black in the middle of the Texas sun during summer. You couldn't touch the thing without burning your hands just a little because it took just a little too long to unlock the cheap thing. I spotted a normal sized spider web, which honestly is not that strange. But what was strange is that in the middle of the day, I could see the spider freely dangling. I'm not one to shy away from spiders, but my mother screamed when she saw it. There was no other way out of the house, so she pushed me forward into the web, into the house, and came running in right after me. My lion's mane was down and proud and full and aerated. And our teacher told me once that he'd like to set it on fire because it would go up so spectacularly. And I just knew that spider was crawling around inside my mother none the wiser. I played it out for a while, staying still, watching her roam around the kitchen. We had this huge wall of mirrors. I think to make the small room look larger, and I could see her and my reflection silently appraising the silence. And then I could feel my internal alarm bell sounding off. There was something on my neck. Normally, I would think a curl, but I had seen that fucking spider, and I knew I was about to die. Have you ever seen the movie Ever After? There's this one scene where one of the evil stepsisters has a meltdown right in front of the queen, yelling and screaming and freaking everybody out, looking like an actual crazy person, shooting her huge dress in all directions and screaming, "It was me!" Yeah, that was me. That was it. In the complete silence of the kitchen/dining room/living room, basically breakdancing, my mom asked, "Get the class on?" And I yelled back, "That fucking spider!" A spider that apparently she had not seen, that was now squished and small on the floor in front of me. She asked, "How did you know?" My only response to her being, "You would understand." Did I mention I got my curls from my dad's side? Yes, me and front doors, specifically, the one front door have never been in sync. When I was growing up, like 5 or 6, we had a bunch of kids that lived in the circle I grew up in. That was the only house I've ever lived in truly. There was a family across the street that had 3 boys, and we were a family of 2 girls. The smallest boy was this little odd in comparison to his brothers. He'd always grab my Barbies and steal them, but not hurt them. He always steal them to have them, which I loved, kind of. I mean, they were still mine, but his brothers did not approve. It was the early 90s, and we could still do that thing where we would go to a neighbor's house and ask if the kids inside could come out and play. I don't know exactly why I was naked or why I was running around in the house, but both of these things are true. One of the brothers, I think the little brother, wanted to play with us, so he came knocking. My dad, ever the loving, oblivious man, heard the doorbell and immediately went to open it. Stupidly, so did I. Our wrought iron black door was exactly that, full of spaces and glass, really the perfect window pane into our living room. Me, being the impressive person that I am, ran to the end of the hall thinking I would surprise my dad before he opened the door and make him laugh. However, my pair padded feet were not fast enough. And I ran in at exactly the moment he opened the door and gave full baby frontal to one of our neighbors. We weren't really close after that. Thinking back on it now, the door is the nexus of my shame. High school stupidly ashamed me of where I lived, but also the fucking ridiculous actions I made. Not just the naked, like dancing fool that I am, but also kind of a terrible person. My birthday is in the beginning of June, and normally I would never get presents from friends. School was out, and summer was bumping, and it was kind of an afterthought. Normally I'd leave for the summers anyways, so it wasn't that big of a deal, I swear. However, this one specific summer, high school began, made of all of our existence. A friend whose mom owned a flower shop and who had a super huge crush on me decided to send me flowers in a really pretty mug for my birthday. I was exactly the girl that we all were. Not special, just completely wanting for attention. I can blame the Gemini aspect, but really it was just the fact that it was the only present and not from someone I wanted it to be from. Horrible and mean and vicious was I. A teenage girl, completely right and completely insecure. I thought it would be funny to hurt someone's feelings. He called me to let me know there was supposed to be a present dropped off that day. I don't know if I had ever even gotten anything actually delivered to my house from a friend. Probably just presents from my grandma, but those were for everybody, not just for me. I was excited. That weird excited that you get when you know you could be a complete jackass to someone and they love you anyway. Psychopathic, really. The mind of a teen girl. On the phone, I acted like I was walking to the front door, this fucking front door. Opened it and then started pretending crying, really laying it on. And I said, oh God, no. It's been broken and shattered and the flowers are everywhere. Did you do this just to hurt me? Just to hurt my feelings on my birthday? Why would you be so mean? The next 2 hours, all I heard was apology after apology, and I laughed it up. Any attention is good attention, right? God, I've still never told him that story. But I hope, I made up for it later in life when I talked him off the ledge, stopped him from breaking up with the one girl in the world that loved Iron Maiden as much as him. I still get a slight form of PTSD walking through that door. The house isn't mine anymore. It has been taken over by my curly-haired sister and our beautiful daughter. So many memories of being locked in that house with no key, literal iron bars on the windows, disgusting forms of carpeting, and flat couches. Entire summers watching not cable, eating boxes of mac and cheese because we weren't allowed to go outside if our parents weren't there. The level of trauma bonding is real. But still, looking back with the utmost love, I mean, honest love. We were a unit. Small comparison to a prison, but the same block. And now, my niece gets to live in that block with us. And those walls telling the story of a million tears and spiders, and laughs and hugs and pictures and memories. I don't wish anyone my same experience with that front door. They'd have to have pretty callous hands. But maybe I wasn't strong enough. And my walking through it
is there so she could run. As I mentioned before, there are a few lessons that I think can be taken away here. One is we've learned a little bit about the culture of our friends. Now we know when you are visiting your Hispanic friend's house, don't go to the front door. That's very disrespectful. Don't do that. The second thing, if you ever hear someone say that they like setting spider webs on fire because they light up so spectacularly, stay far away from them. Stay far away. The final lesson I think to be taken is if someday, my class, you ever own a home, please don't have one with windows in it. I'm just kidding. No one in this room is going to be able to own a property. This next story is called John 30 Boston, and it's written by Mariam Nisa and read by Stephen Heck.
John, 30, Boston. Generic what the dad thought, the most interesting thing about John was his apartment. This must have been when I was 26, unemployed, and spending a depressive summer couch surfing in Cambridge. There are two places I've noticed that have the best shopping, Boston and London. Something about the fast fashion in these cities just works. I threw on my finest Primark tweed and ordered an Uber. I distinctly remember it freezing, and I was wearing a pink coat that was more Hillary Rodham Clinton than the Blair Waldorf look that I was going for some reason. Why I thought sophistication was better than a thought fit, I'm not sure. If I think about it, maybe it was in the hopes for something more meaningful and to portray some sort of class outside of the self-shame I gave myself for hooking up. Who knows? Uber drivers know when a person is about to get fucked. I wonder what judgments they cast on single girls, closely clutching their knees and purses, biting their lips, and taking deep breaths out foggy windows. We drive over the bridge and soon arrive into downtown Boston. It's beautiful, it's expensive, it's old money and new money, but new money living like old money. I step out to a 32-story condo building that must have been newly constructed. The doorman enters and I began again to think if he knows my agenda. John didn't have any decency to come downstairs. I knocked on the door, he answered, and there he was. White t-shirt, joggers, frazzled presiding hairline. Good look picture. The place was huge and overlooked Boston Common. The apartment was completely empty with one couch, a dingy coffee table, and terrible lighting. John was well off. He worked in stocks, he has an Ivy League education, and you could tell that he was the type that had a very long relationship in the past that probably went sour because she wanted him to convert to Judaism or something. Note, if you think I'm presumptuous, this story is not for you. We sit on the couch and catch up. He's tired and uninterested and not seeking conversation. We light a bowl and a vape I brought, and soon the indica slaps. He lays his hands on my black tights. They're velvety soft, but not the kind you find in a fetish shop or anything. He leans over, rubs his chubby fingers through my hair, pulls me in, and blows his vape smoke in my mouth. A common practice, new to me. I inhale, cough, and reciprocate with a kiss. As my clothes began to come off, my new dress's buttons undone, and the reveal of my absent bra, he pulls me closer, kisses the middle of the area between my breasts, and pushes me down. He inserts himself between my legs, lit with goosebumps from the sudden removal of clothes. Then, this is missionary. It is what it is kind of sex. He's sweating a lot. I'm stoned out of my mind and just riding the wave. As he's occupied, I drift off, head hanging off the side of the sectional, observing the apartment. I notice an expensive caramel briefcase, a camel coat, and loafers designed for a Brooks Brothers wannabe. Art is absent. The floors are bare, and again, the lighting is awful. It's not like I don't try to take the lead or enjoy myself. I think we were both so high that neither of us really tried or bothered. He gets up, leads me to his bedroom, we brush our teeth, and make plans for breakfast in the morning. And I fall asleep staring outside the window at the other buildings around me. Morning comes, it's brutally hot. The heater has been on all night, I'm profusely sweating and have no idea how to fix it. He's snoring and in deep REM state. I throw on his white Oxford from his workday earlier. It smells like decisions plus stress sweat plus some sort of men's Armani. It's comforting. I, attempting to be cinematically adorable, model for myself in his mirror, staring at my butt peeking out. I wait 30 minutes thinking about how he will wake up, call me over for a kiss, slide me next to him, and we spend an hour deciding what omelet looks best. This doesn't happen. The heat becomes unbearable, and I come to the conclusion that I, like many other women that live in a world where we have the stupidity to expect men to honor their word, better yet, give a sliver of attempt. I threw his shirt on the bathroom counter, put on my clothes, ordered an Uber, and I take one last look at Boston Common through his window. And I set off. My biggest regret, not taking a selfie with that gorgeous view in the background.
Goodness, I didn't know that that story was going to be so explicit, but I guess you guys were going to get some sexual education at some point. And I hope that it really taught you some things, like don't leave the heater on, have art in your house. Also, I was reflecting, Uber drivers do know. I was once in an Uber with my own John 30 Boston, and the Uber driver put on loud gospel music, and I turned it up, and it was like blasting. And I just sat there and I was like, I'm going to hell. This is it. I am a sinner. But now I'm here, so I guess I still have a little bit of time before I go to hell. In the meantime, this story, if there were an award this evening for most creative title, I think that this might take it. This story is called Aw, Houston's Little Panty Stands. It is written by Abhinav Kumar and it is read by James Medford.
How's that? So, I want everybody to know that for good luck, I'm wearing my Eco-K shirt. Not that I'm obsessed. Okay, before I start,
There's a word in this that I had to look up. I Googled it and it got 0 hits. I asked the writer tonight what it is, what does it mean, and he said, just go with it. So when I get there, I will let you know that we're at that word. And y'all just do what you want with it. During the early weeks of the pandemic, HPD didn't just mean Houston Police Department. It also meant the horse poop department. In those days when highways were empty and stores were closed, the vacant Buffalo Bayou trails would have been super creepy, if not for the sheer volume of grapefruit-sized police horse turds proudly rotting everywhere. I guess the city of Houston wanted to use everything at its disposal to stop human group gatherings using horse poop splatterings. Anyways, a few months into this lifestyle of news, nanobots, and toilet paper, it seemed like some ancient spirit floutfully mainlined Peer Gynt's morning wood. Right into all of our souls at the same time, and we started to poke our little Houston heads outside a little more and more. Little. Sure, the constant screams, pundit screams, and hospitalizations kept us on edge, but I remember a series of particularly magical nights, like a less nude mosh painting over by the Waterworks Pavilion near the skate park. I mean, wow. The stars. There was more than one. And the sky. Free from our usual blanket of car exhaust and industrial pollution. The horizon. The downtown skyline. The air and space between the buildings and the trees. It was also crisp and vivid. I don't know if we'll ever see such clean air again. Even the salon blue of the night sky seemed like God. Or Nintendo Sun. Sprung for the more expensive Planet paint set. And people having discovered, or rediscovered, the joy of drinking outdoors on a blanket with the entire earth beneath our bottoms and behind our backs, seemed to occupy every patch of grass available. Not just the easy spots and the flat spots, but also the slanted spots on the wavy hills and on patches of grass nowhere near a trail. Blankets of fabric adorned the earth like a larger-than-life quilt, sat on by shoeless mothers, fathers, children, families, students, friends, lovers, and dogs. Constellations twinkling above, and wine glasses clinking below. Bicycle squads rode by, lit lovely by LEDs on wheels with light music playing through their bicycle boomboxes. And if it wasn't the speakers, it was the flumpy echoes of brass sousaphones and trombones and trumpets in the distance, played by goofy band kids from Rice or U of H. With a lone bonus available to a password sharing society only, but there's nothing new to watch. Up at the amphitheater above the cistern, impromptu troops assembled to practice breakdancing, majorette dancing, and even ballroom dancing, right there on the big stage, right there between the benches and tables, right there on the steps, right there, everywhere. Everyone had this whimsical, artistic, carefree confidence, a city, unplanned, together. Like some chapter at the end of a book about how when our backs are against the wall, even on the road to prophesied disease-ridden Armageddon, we will find a way to enjoy life, find a way to be creative, and find a way to redeem our relationships with ourselves, with our home world, and with each other.
It does kind of bring you back to a kinder time. Do you remember the first couple of weeks when everything shut down and everyone had a very, we're all in this together attitude? And it seemed like maybe we were gonna pull through together. And just look at us now, look how we did. Clearly it was a big success. Personally, I blame it all on those celebrities who did the stitched video of them singing Imagine. I think that wrecked something deeply within our culture that cannot be repaired. Class, you've been so well behaved this evening. I do want to remind you to tip the cafeteria ladies who have so kindly provided provisions for you this evening. We have one more story for you tonight. It's called Fireball. It's written by Astrid Lang and it's read by Adriana Kalinchik.
So, I was living with 13 ex-felons, 3 Pomeranians, 2 of which always seemed to need to have their anal glands expressed, a Chihuahua, 1 parrot, 1 macaw, and 1 ornery, 4'2", 60-year-old chain-smoking, while on oxygen, red-wigged fire starter in a motorized wheelchair named Bonnie Quinn. You know me. Eat, pray, love journeys of soft-focused, romanticized self-discovery can kiss my ass. All of us were there at Bonnie's House of Hope to A, stay sober, and B, because we had nowhere else to go. Bonnie's House of Hope was known around town as the last house on the block, the only thing between you and the street. You could say we were all on journeys. That part is true. This was 2003, 2004 in Conroe, Texas. Well, it was 2003 in the rest of the world. It's fair to say that in Conroe, it was stuck at least a decade earlier. You know, I was fresh out of the wilderness of Montrose in Houston with a busted up car full of futuristic raver thrift store clothes, a chip on my shoulder, and an AA1 in my hand. I didn't fully speak country, but I knew how to play cards and listen, and that goes a long way wherever you are. And did we ever play cards at Miss Bonnie's? She was a skip boat fiend. There were countless nights of 6-person, 8-person, 10-person skip boat games around the worn dining table. There were at least 4 overflowing ashtrays, the air filled with cut rate brand basic cigarette smoke. The TV would be blaring in the corner with Fred, the macaw, perched directly above, loudly trading insults with caged parrot Sweetie across the room over the dim of card game banter. Banter is a euphemistic term, mostly involving the word fuck in all of its iterations. Like I said before in a previous story here, when you don't have much, you do tend to develop a richly expressive verbal style. Silent points of respect were given for the words you could string together around fuck, delivered with the appropriate emotional heft. I became a kindergarten teacher 18 months after moving out from Miss Bonnie's. I can say, y'all, there were struggles I had not anticipated with that verbally. We played cards because it kept us busy. It kept us out of trouble. It kept us where Miss Bonnie could see us. All this I realized as I was writing these sentences. At the time, I don't think any of us fully realized we just didn't know what else to do without what we used to do. And like I said, this was Conroe in 2003 stuck in time. There really wasn't anything else to do, especially with no money and 3 vehicles between all of us. The original house had had room after room added on over the years. The layout was maze-like, but the tiny bedroom and bathroom I shared with Bonnie were separate from the men's area. They had 3 bunk bed-filled rooms, and one was just off the living room with 3 couches that didn't fold out, but were used for sleeping anyway. Other things lived with us there. I fell to the 72-hour fever flu, ending up in the ER with a 104 temperature exactly 36 hours after my first night. Everybody got it as they came in to Miss Bonnie's. To this day, I have no idea what it was, but I play odds it had to do with those damn birds. All of us were terrified of Sweetie. We had rotating house chores, cleaning Sweetie's cage, a full-size one you could practically stand in. Was a 2-person job because of Sweetie's bite and death grip. Even more terrifying was when Bonnie would have us let Sweetie out of her cage for a stroll to Miss Bonnie's bedroom. More than once, Sweetie would see the tall green oxygen canisters in the hall and fly dramatically to dance on top of them, making them sway and clank against each other as we strive to keep them upright without getting clawed. Adventure! Speaking of infectiousness, the kitchen was a source of wonderment and frustration. Yes, if you used a dish, you immediately had to wash it, but we're talking about 15 people's dishes every day. And how many times do we have burnt stew for dinner because the burners were touchy and the tall soup pots thin? Bonnie had gotten sober at age 50 in the 1990s after decades of alcoholism. But once she did clean herself up, she got her drug and alcohol abuse counselor certification, worked full-time at the women's shelter, and opened her house to those who needed it most, adding onto it over the years. She also shot at her daughter's husband early in her sobriety. Since then, she had calmed down a bit. Being on oxygen and a steady dose of albuterol with early osteoporosis and a motorized wheelchair will do that. I wouldn't have called her serene though. Cross the line and your stuff would be tossed out on the porch. She cursed out everything freely for sheer enjoyment sometimes, even in our 6:30 a.m. 12-step house meetings. You could tell her mood by how fast she took the motorized wheelchair through the house in the morning. She would have a small oxygen tank swinging off the back, a cigarette hanging out of her mouth, the Pomeranians and Chihuahua on her lap, and her auburn wig set on her head. On a spice day, everything would fly off as she hit the threshold between the kitchen and the dining room. And she'd add a few goddammits to every fucking good morning salutation. She rarely took in women. There's always something in the shadows holding you back, she would claim. But I didn't have kids, wasn't from there, and as far as the one parasite who borrowed my car and pawned it to his dealer, I kicked him to the curb in front of her. Plus, she did need someone to help her. Y'all, this is a great big PSA. Bonnie had COPD. The prednisone and albuterol made her hands shake and her bones brittle. Her decreased lung function made it harder and harder to be ambulatory. Those meds and non-hormonal treatment after menopause made her skin, at 59, like tissue paper. It took nothing for a cut or a crack that we would gingerly take up. Poor circulation and sedentariness made any cut prone to infection. She had an ulcer on her leg layers deep that took a year to heal. I would fall asleep listening to the CPAP machine in the room we shared. Occasionally she would talk in her dreams, but with her dentures out, I couldn't understand what she said. Sometimes she would cackle with laughter in those dreams though. Her coughing fits were legendary. If I start coughing up, you have to hit me in the back, she would tell each new person. I don't care if you break a rib. Picture a room full of men, some quite burly and me, all of us towering over her 4'2" body, bent over, hacking in that wheelchair at the dining room table, and all of us petrified as she spat, "Hit me!" at us. These weren't party pats on the back, y'all. One of the old timers at the house would show us how to use the heel of our hand, aim to the side of the spine, and drive the blows hard upward, again and again until the phlegm loosened. The power of cigarettes and denial is no lie. We were watching it in real time, and yet smoking right along with her. I think about that a lot, especially with, now. Did I feel safe there? 90% yes. She didn't allow sex offenders or violent former inmates. If I wasn't on the outside or at a meeting, I was basically with her at all times. No disrespect, but I was not attracted to anyone I met there, and I can't say I was at my best either. Most of the men were older than me, in their 30s and beyond. Almost all were in poor health. I'm not saying they weren't twisted. And there were a couple that did give me pause. And a few that got weirdly teary when I did move out. But to me, they were other humans struggling to become people again. Some made it up and out, some down and out. 2 of them had been there for years. One died while I was there, and we all knew it was coming, and we were part of his hospice. I was there because I was afraid to stay in Houston. My ultimate bottom, unfortunately, involved some bad cops who told me they would come back to where I lived on Graustark. I didn't want to find out what that would entail. I couldn't risk getting my family entangled. How I had chosen to cope with the things I couldn't cope with had nothing to do with them. I felt I had one chance and one chance only to face it all and learn how to, as Miss Bonnie exhorted everyone, put your shoulders back and your chin up. But I was so terrified. All the bravado, coffee, and cigarettes masked so much fear in all of us. To those of us that managed to stay, Bonnie was a substitute grandma, a cackling candle in the dark. No matter how much she coughed, her faded blue eyes had a wicked gleam. She died in 2013. I couldn't believe she'd made it that long. In 2005, she rolled over in her bed, accidentally leaning her lit cigarette on her oxygen line, dangling down her own body. She broke her leg and suffered smoke inhalation after throwing herself on the floor to avoid the fire. Later in the hospital, even with a tracheotomy tube, she somehow convinced 6 of the House of Hope residents to break her out and cart her home. It was because she wanted to play skip-rope real bad, they told me. Later, I moved to Colorado after trying not to curse out kindergartners, middle schoolers, and high school students once I became a teacher. I later moved to South Korea and Guatemala. I hiked every trail I could find, pushing my legs to keep moving, grasping for as much air as I can, taking in views I'd never imagined I'd see. So many of my dreams have come true, and I want to be able to tell stories about these times, the good times too. I guess I'm getting there, but it helps right now to be able to share what makes those moments and the moments right now here feel so fucking good. It's the vision of a cursing red-headed fireball yelling, "Pick your chin up," as she hits the threshold in her wheelchair,
and dogs fly off her lap. Thank you. Just as a quick aside, I know the author of that story, Astrid. She's in here somewhere tonight. I don't know, I wanted to give a quick shout out. If there's anybody that really is a teacher, it's her. She's taught me a lot about letting go and enjoying yourself, not being embarrassed, going for your dreams, being sober. And I'm hugely thankful to her. Class, the bell is not working. And it wouldn't matter anyway, because the bell doesn't dismiss you. I do. But we've reached the end of our program. I do so hope that you've enjoyed it. Please remember to tip your cafeteria ladies. And if you look on the back of this program, you'll see our friends. There's a bunch of different events that you can attend. You really should check some of them out. I'll be at some of them, and I might not be at others, but you'll see a lot of these people there. It's a great way to just reach out and get to know people, and that's what this is all about. Thank you again to Blair and Emily, and good night.